The Empire of the Moors by John G. Jackson. Compiled with Impendex by Runoko Rashidi. The Moors were people who lived in Morocco. That's the reason they called it that. The word Moor meant black. It meant black people. In ancient times, all Africans were called Ethiopians or Cushites. And in the Middle Ages, the Africans were called Moors. The word Moor literally means black. So the Moorish people were the black people. In medieval times, the name Moor was not restricted to the inhabitants of Morocco, but it was customary to refer to all Africans as Moors. The highly ambiguous word Negro had not yet been invented. This word Negro came up when the slave trade came in. In other words, you have a lot of little fish floating around in the ocean. They're little fish and they have various names. But if you put them into cans, they all become sardines. So when they put the black man in slavery, he became a Negro. We know from contemporary records, which have come down to us from the era of medieval Moorish supremacy, that the Moors did not consider themselves as white men. Now, let's critically analyze what the great ancestor John G. Jackson wrote and see some things that maybe we need to correct here to put us on the right path. So the things I wanted to look at is when he says, the highly ambiguous word Negro had not yet been invented. So first we have to find ambiguous. And then the second thing I want to look at is when he said, so when they put the black man in slavery, he became a Negro. Now, my answer to that would be, questions to that would be, Negro in English means black. And black in Spanish means Negro. So if the word Negro is highly ambiguous, is not the word black ambiguous too? And he also said that the Moors did not consider themselves as white men. Now, let's see what white persons or white people we call means in law. What I mean when I say in law is when you're going to court or dealing with a police officer, so-called. So this is in the law dictionary. It says, free white persons referred to in Naturalization Act as amended by Act July 14, 1870, right after the Civil War, has meaning naturally given to it when first used in one state 103C, meaning all persons belonging to the European races, then commonly counted as white, and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. It includes all European Jews more or less intermixed with people of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes Magyars, Lapps and Finns, and Basque and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, the mixed Greek, Latin Phoenicians, and North African inhabitants of Sicily, and mixed Slavs and Tatar inhabitants of South Russia. It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian people who inhabited Persia. A Syrian of Asiatic birth, Elijah Muhammad calls us the Afro-Asiatic man, right? Of Asiatic birth and descendant will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free white person. Pretty interesting. Now let's go look at what the U.S. Census says about what it means to be a white person. So let's continue to read and see is any social engineering going on here, because, we just want to make sure that we're empowering ourselves. So let me start. The U.S. Census Bureau must adhere to the 1997 Office of Management and Budget, OBM, standards on race and ethnicity, which guide the Census Bureau in classifying written responses to the race questions. Let me repeat that again. Which guides the Census Bureau in classifying written responses to the race question. So first it says white. A person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. Now my question would be, who is the original people of the planet? Okay, we'll get back to that later, but just think about what it says. Europe, the original people, the Middle East. Now we all know who the real Hebrews are and the first Arabs. In North Africa. Now all I gotta do is just say Africa. So these people can be white. Okay, now let's go to black or African American. It says a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. Okay, so ain't nothing there about any original people. It says of black racial groups. Okay, now remember, somebody said, well, we'll get back to that. Okay, let's go to the next one. American Indian or Alaska Native. It says a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, and who maintains tribal affiliation or community attachment. So once again, I have to ask my listeners, who are the original people of the planet? Okay, let me go on to the next one. It says Asian. A person having origins in any of the original peoples of the Far East, Southeast Asia, or the Indian subcontinent, including, for example, Cambodia, China, India, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, Pakistan, the Philippine Islands, Thailand, and Vietnam. So once again, I ask you, who are the original people of the planet? The first on all continents. Okay, let's go to the next one. It says Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. It goes to saying a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Hawaii, Guam, Samoa, and other Pacific Islands. Well, the same question goes again. Who are the original people on all continents in the planet? And also, I will ask you guys to look at the fact that black or African American is the only one that didn't say a person having origins in any of the original peoples. Instead, it says a person having origins in any of the black racial groups. Now, why didn't they say a person having origins of any of the original people? Maybe that's something we need to study. But to go down to the bottom, it says the 1997 OMB standards permit the reporting of more than one race. An individual response to the race question is based upon self-identification. So you can only be what you want. So you could be anything you really want. You could be an Asian if you choose to be. An individual response to the race question is based upon self-identification. The Census Bureau does not tell individuals which boxes to mark or what heritage to write in. For the first time in Census 2000, individuals were presented with the option of self-identify with more than one race, and this continued with the 2010 census. People who identify with more than one race may choose to provide multiple races in response to the race question. For example, if a respondent identifies as Asian or white, they may respond to the question on race by checking the appropriate boxes that describe their racial identity or writing in these identities or spaces. So it's really, you have a choice. You really have a choice. So I just want to read this other little part and I'm going to close it out. It says, what is race? The data on race were derived from answers to the question on race that was asked of individuals in the United States. The Census Bureau collects data in accordance with the guidelines provided by the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, OMB. Now you see it doesn't say American Office, it says United States Office. And these data are based on self-identification. The racial categories included in the census questionnaire generally reflect a social definition of race recognized in this country and not worldwide, in this country, which is really a corporation, right? Because America is a continent, and not an attempt to define race biologically, anthropologically, or genetically. In addition, it is recognized that these categories of race item include racial and national origin and social cultural groups. People may choose to report more than one race to indicate their racial mixture, such as American Indian and white. People who identify their origin as Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish may be of any race. Let's say that again. People who identify their origin as Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish may be of any race. OBM requires 5 categories: white, black or African American, American Indian, or Alaska Native Asian, or Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander. Now, I just want to say something real quick. You notice how you don't see Arabian on here? For the Arab that owns the corner store? I guess he's really a so-called white man